Hi everyone, I'm going to give this a couple of minutes just in case there's some late arrivals, but I'm going to show you a few little techniques in how I make these lovely little flower blossoms. So if you're watching this, please leave any questions below, and my son Adam is here, so he'll be calling them out. So if you've got any questions, ask away and he'll call away and I'll answer them. So flower blossoms, a lot of people buy them, shop bought ones, and I want to encourage you to make your own. Now I'm going to use some beautiful flower paste, and this is platinum paste, and this is made from Sugar City. They're based in St Leonard's in the UK, and basically they have a website and you can purchase the flower paste there. They're going to be at the NEC this November, so if you're in the UK you can go and see Lynn and purchase some of her flower paste. Now Lynn sent me this a couple of months ago to test it, and it works beautiful. So I've tested it, I've put it outside to see what the humidity's like, and it's a wonderful flower paste, so I highly recommend it. Now what I've done is I've actually, I'm going to use some pink flower paste. So what I've done is I've got a small amount of the flower paste, and I've added some of the Wilton Rosa paste gel colour. So I've added a really small amount, just using a small toothpick, and I've added it to the paste. What I generally do is when I add the paste gel colour, I tend to then knead it in and then I let it rest for about an hour just to develop. And when you use your flower paste, you want to just store it wrapped up in a double-sided piece of Glad wrap or cling film, so it doesn't dry out too quickly. When you get the container, the tubs, it comes sealed, and then once you've opened it up, pop it into a Glad wrap bag and then make sure it keeps airtight. There's no need to freeze it, there's no need to refrigerate it, you can just simply leave it out at room temperature. So have we got anyone here yet? Is there anyone making any comments? Who have we got, Adam?
We've got 2 people watching.
Hello, 2 people watching. Do we know the names or not yet? Oh, go on, put your names in. Don't be shy. The basic tools that we're going to use tonight, that I'm going to show you, and you don't need many, which is lovely, because what's brilliant, you don't need too many tools to make this. So I'm not going to use any cutters, but I'm going to use a foaming pad or a balling mat. And basically this is a high density sponge. Back in the UK, I used to be a swimming instructor, and I used to use all the kicker boards. So this is pretty much a food safe board, a mat even. The other tool that we'll need to use is a balling tool, and this is a PME balling tool, and it's a clues in its name. It's got a ball on one end and a small ball on the other. We're going to need one of those. The other thing is we're going to need a small sharp knife, a paring knife, a straight edge knife, or we could use a stitching wheel or a cutting wheel. Okay. The other thing I'm going to use, we can either use a wooden dowel, or we can, if we wanted to, use a cone shaper. Okay, and this is made by PME as well. Okay. A few other extras, I've got a veining pin, and this is made by Gem, and it's got a veining effect. So when I push it into the flower paste, it creates a vein effect on it. So it's an awesome tool. We're going to need some cake decorating wire, and I'm going to use 26 gauge wire. I'm going to use the green. You can buy it in white, but by using the green, I don't then need to tape or paint the stems. I probably should be showing you what I'm going to make. So I want to show you a few little different types of flowers that we can create. Earlier I did a video this morning, but I noticed a lot of it my hand was covering up. So I just want to show you some different types of flowers you can make using the method that I'm about to show you. And these ones are really quite unique. These are my contemporary ones. And the method I'm going to show you how I make those, you might have a light bulb moment when you see how I make those, because I use a real sleight of hand in technique and get a beautiful result. So I'm just going to pop those just there. And I've had loads of private messages for this. Now, my beautiful husband makes me these, and I've had about 8 private messages saying, do we sell them? But no. So all it is, it's a large cake board, it's a 12-inch cake board, and what Matt's done, he's on the countersink underneath, and he's cut me some cake dowel. He's given me quite a nice depth, so it's about 8-inch gap, because if I have long flowers, if I want to, say for instance, start hanging longer flowers on with longer stems, I can without them sort of bashing the bottom. Yes?
Linda Ross says, what a great idea.
Oh, thank you, Linda Ross. I know. Valinda. Thank you. So what we do, using the small cooling racks, and you can buy these in the dollar shops or the sort of cheap shops. And what he's done is he's drilled a hole and he's fixed 2 bits of wood on top, so it counteracts it and stops it from wobbling. And it's just awesome. And then when I'm done with it, I actually just unscrew bottom and bolt, and I just put it in a Ziploc bag, and it comes flat pack, and it's not from IKEA, okay? So how awesome is that? It's, you know, really, really good design, and my hubby's quite clever, so thought I'd show you that. So the other thing that we're going to need is some Tylose glue, and you can make your own Tylose glue. And what I normally do is I normally use half a cup of water to 1 teaspoon of powder. Put it in a lidded container, put the water in and add the Tylose powder, and I give it a good shake, and then I leave it in the fridge overnight. It goes very cloudy and then it goes clear. So you can actually make your own glue for your flowers. You don't need to buy shop bought glue, you can make your own.
Okay,
back on. Yay! Okay, so I'm going to use some cake decorating wire, and the difference between this and florist wire is it has paper on. So if anyone is listening to this and we are live, can someone just put a message so my son can see that we are live? So this is 26 gauge wire, and it's quite fine, okay? And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a piece out, and you can use scissors, and I'm going to cut them into 4, okay? Now when the wires are thicker, you want to use your strong wire cutters, okay? And then what I want to do is I want to make little hooks, so if you can just zoom in on those. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the end of the pliers. Make sure that the wire isn't protruding. Make sure it's just right on that edge. And then I'm just going to turn it, rotate it round, pushing against my thumb. And can you see that just makes a weeny small little hook, okay? You don't want the hook totally closed, okay? So you don't want it too open. So you don't want it like a ski stick. You want to just bring it round a little bit more so that it actually hooks in, okay? And then just slightly like so, okay? So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to just pop those to one side, and then what we've got is we've got some stamens. Now these are sort of bridal stamens, and you can get these in haberdashery shops, and basically they have a synthetic finish on them, and you can buy them in all different shades of colour and shapes as well, and they are double-sided. And I'm also still going to use the traditional stamens that have little bits of fondant on the end. If you actually suck the ends of them, they actually are sugar, so we're going to use some of those as well. So with my dryer, if you can just have a quick look, you can see that they're all hanging upside down like fruit bats. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show you some different variations in this flower. So pretty much you can create whatever shape and style you like, and I'm going to show you the 4 techniques better than I did this morning. Okay, so there's a heart style, so you can see it's almost shaped like a little sweetheart, And then here we've got a small little petal blossom, but it's got pinched edges. Okay, and then we've got the smaller style of 4 petals. And again, I've done a pinched edge one. So that almost looks like a little snowdrop, not a snowdrop. It's escaped me now. I can't remember what I said. Huh? What? He's signing to me. I think it looks like a little tiny little hydrangea, just a small little flower. Okay, have we got anyone saying hello, Adam?
Joe Morley here.
Hi, Joe Morley from New Zealand. How are you, Joe? So Joe and I used to work in a hotel in England together, and Joe was my maitre d', the head waitress, and I used to be the head chef there. And she lives in sunny New Zealand. Okay, so I'm grabbing my flour paste, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll out some small ball-sized pieces of fondant. We can make these flowers very, very large, but if we want to make them small, because really what we want to do is when we've made them, the idea is we group them together, and they're called infill flowers because they can fill in little gaps, okay? So realistically, you can make the flowers quite large, but really I want to go smaller. So I've got a jelly cup, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to just cover those balls so that they don't dry out too much. And I'm going to just push with the flour paste. Now sometimes with the flour paste you can just condition it a little bit, but this paste is beautiful. It just doesn't really need too much working. I'm also going to just pop a little bit of corn flour on my bench if my fingers get a little bit sticky. So I'm going to take the ball, push it down, and I'm just going to taper it into a teardrop, okay? So I'm going to pop this and these two underneath there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my cone tool, and I'm just going to push in. And as I push in, I'm just going to push it round so that it's nicely positioned. And I'm going to just put my glasses on now so I can see what I'm up to. And I'm going to use a knife, and I'm going to support the back of the little cone. And I'm going to use a knife, and I'm going to divide it and cut 2 lines halfway up. Looking in between those 2 cut sections, I'm going to use my knife again and make another cut and another cut. So basically I've created 4 cuts. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to wiggle the cone tool away and take that away. Now if I didn't have a cone tool, I could use a cake dowel to do exactly the same. I can push it on like so and then cut exactly the same. So if you didn't have that tool, you can use it that way. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to open up the flour and just open it up slightly. And then using the balling tool, I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to push a little bit, and then I'm going to stroke it out. So I'm going to push in and then stroke it out. I'm going to push in and stroke it out. Okay. And I'm going to go back in and just repeat that and just bring it out a little bit more. So I'm going to widen and lengthen those petals, okay? Now with my wires, I've got a couple of options now. If I wanted to make the flower a lot more finer, I can use the end of the frilling stick or veining stick. And I can just pop the tool in there and just push down either side, and can you see that creates a nice vein effect on the petal. And it just makes the flower a lot more flouncier, okay? And then when I dip the wire into the glue, if I pop the wire directly into the flower now, there's going to be too much glue on the end. So I'm just going to get the back of my hand and just wipe the glue, position the flower, and then using this nice and centered, I'm going to push it through and then bring it down so it comes out the other end, okay? And then just very gently, I'm going to pull that through and bring it down below the level of the flower. Okay, and then I'm just going to pop a little bit of corn flour on my fingers, and I'm going to turn this upside down and just roll it between my two fingers onto the wire. Okay, now this I'm just going to leave, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to turn this upside down and I'm going to park it just on here and give it a few minutes to start to dry. I'm going to take the second one, and what I want to do, I want to show you how I get a more pinched effect, so it looks like a little daisy or it looks like a little jasmine. That's the word I was trying to remember a minute ago. So back into a ball. So do a circular motion, pushing down, and then using the base of your hand, just taper it slightly. Okay? And then we're going to use the cone tool again, center it, and then push this down. Okay, and then using your knife, again we're going to cut it into 4 sections. Okay, if you find that when you do this and your knife has got some dried flour paste on, just give it a clean, and then just go back in and remark those lines. Okay, and then I just give this a slight wiggle. We're going to open this up. Okay, and again I'm going to get my balling tool and I'm going to push it in, and I'm going to push it down and then stroke it out. So I'm going to push it in and rotate the flower, push it in and then draw it out. So by pushing it in, drawing it out, can you see I can create these lovely little petals? And I'm just going to go back on the edges and just soften those edges a little bit more. So with the veining tool, I'm just going to roll it from side to side within the petal. You can use a toothpick to do this as well, but I find this is more effective. And then again, we're going to dip the wire, wipe off the excess, and then thread it through. Okay, make sure you get it nice and centered. And then again, you're just going to roll it onto the wire. Make sure it's nice and tight. If you've got any extra little bits that are sticking, neaten the bottom, so just turn that round. Okay, and then what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to pinch the petal and then just bring it together. So I'm going to pinch it out and then bring it to a point. I'm going to pinch it out and bring it to a point. Pinch it out, bring it to a point. Okay, and then pop that upside down. So next I want to show you how I make the heart effect. So the heart effect is a really nice, style as well. And this can be made in a 6 petal, or we can make it in a 4 petal. So I'm going to show you how to make it into a 4 petal. So into a ball and then into a cone. Have we got anyone else saying hello?
We've got Rebecca Doherty.
Oh, hi Rebecca.
About 10 viewers.
Hi 10 viewers. Hi Rebecca, how was Sydney? Rebecca just went to Sydney this weekend on a cake crawl, and we had an awesome lineup of people. So okay, so what I've done is I'm just using the knife again and I'm dividing it into 4 sections. I'm going to just push it in and then give it a wiggle out, and then use your thumb just to pull that out. Okay, if you find that that petal hasn't cut, just pop your knife back in and divide it. Okay, now this time we're going to do something slightly different. We're going to still put the ball tool in just to flatten it, and we're going to just stroke it on one side of the petal's edge, and then we're going to stroke it on the other side. Can you see that creates like a heart? So we're going to do the other. Okay, so I push the ball in just to flatten it slightly, and then I push the balling tool on one edge of the cut petal and then on the other edge of the cut petal. Can you see that makes a heart? How cute is that? So I'm just going to repeat the same. So this one, just going to push those out the way, flatten that just a little bit to make it wider, and then push down one side and push down the other. So can you see now I've got a beautiful little flower blossom, okay? Now if I wanted to, I could use the very pin again and make it thinner and vein it, but I'm happy as it is. And I'm just going to get a small amount of glue onto the end of the hook wire and wipe the excess off. And then I'm going to just thread that through. Okay, just pop that through, just pinch it round. Okay, I'm just going to pull it down a little bit more so it starts to disappear in there. Okay, turn it upside down and then just work it down onto the wire. Okay, you don't want it to be too bulky as you make that, and you can just neaten up the back. Okay, now what we used to do, we used to make all our flowers really similar to this, and the technique was a pulled flower, and a pulled flower is fantastic. But the problem I find, a lot of people aren't nimble fingered when you do a pulled flower. So let me show you how to do a pulled flower, but I find that the technique that I've just shown you is awesome. So I'm going to roll this into a ball, and I'm just going to taper it down into a bud. And again, it's exactly the same technique. You're going to just open it up like this. And again, what you can do, you can cut like so, you know, cut as I've just been showing you, or if you want to, you can actually use scissors and you can snip. Okay, and then normally I get a little bit of corn flour on my fingers, and then what we do, we just slightly thumb open the flowers, and we just pull up and we pinch. So we push down, we pinch, and then we pull up. So can you see I can do exactly the same what I've been doing, but it takes me a little bit longer. And then what I normally do, I just shape them to make them a little bit more rounded. And you can shape them and make them longer. You can shape them to be more rounded. But for me personally, I like my method that I've just shown you, okay? So again, in the glue, pop that through. But for me, because where I've veined it or I've pushed it down, you can see it's a lot less chunkier, you know, it's more of a fuller flower, you know, a thicker flower. Let me just neaten that up. So anyone got any questions? If you've got any questions, then ask away. Anyone with questions? No. Okay, so what I'm going to do next, I'm just going to get some stamens, and I'm going to just tap them together so they're the same length, and then using my scissors I'm going to snip. So I'm probably just leaving a little bit longer than the actual size of the stamen. So I don't need a massive long length, just a short length, like so. And then what's important is to put your stamens in whilst your flowers are still soft, okay? So don't make them and then leave them overnight to dry, and then they're going to be too dry to put the stamens in, okay? So just gather them in groups, and it does depend on how long you want them to be. Okay. So I'm just going to grab my flower. Are we all right? Is it switched on? Yeah. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to pop a tiny little bit of glue on the end, and I'm just going to pop the stamen in. Now you can, if you want to, if you've got not so nimble fingers, you can use a pair of tweezers to do this. I've not got nimble fingers, but I find that I can just put them in without, you know, too much concern there. And then if you want to, I'm just going to pop that one into there and that one into there. So you can have as many as you like or as little as you like. And if you wanted to, you could dust these before you put the stamens in. And I tend to dust the flowers whilst they're still soft because I find that they absorb the powder much better. Okay, so basically I'm just going to gather the flowers. So let me show you what's available. So here I've got the same effect, but all I've done is literally I've just pinched each petal and I've brought it in. So I've cut a really small little 6-petal flower and then a little 4-petal flower. And on this one I've left my center without the stamens in. So here I've got a 4-petal and a 4-petal there and a 6-petal there. And then here I'm just going to grab a couple . You can tell I'm heavy-handed with my flowers. I'm not all that dainty because I'm kind of terrible. I just kind of pick them up. And so you can see all the different types of flowers that we can create. We can create them tighter to each other, or we can have them more looser. And then what I normally do is when they are all dry, you can arrange them in small groups. You just straighten the wire up. That one I wouldn't use because it's got no stamens in. It's unusually raining tonight. Apparently we've got storms coming tomorrow, so if we've got any tourists in Brisbane at the minute, you're going to be disappointed. So I'm not going to use that one. I'm going to use that one. Okay. So can you see just how pretty they look? And then what I normally do for storage, because I find that when I store my flowers, they really are quite bulky. So when I've made my flowers, when I'm doing them in groups of 8, I'll just get one wire and I'll just wrap them round, and I'll just wrap them round like so, and then I store them in a cardboard box, and then I know that I've got them in groups of 8 or normally groups of 6, and then that's how I store them. So if you've got any questions, anyone written any questions? Has it all gone quiet out there?
We've got 9 viewers.
We've got 9 viewers. So where's everyone from? Have we got anyone there? No. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this and I hope it's been of some benefit. And if you do have any questions, please put some questions at the end, and I will, once I go offline, I'll still answer them if you need any questions answered. So thanks for watching, and remember, if you want to make this beautiful stand, it's really simple to make, and I hope you've learned a few things in tonight's demo. Thanks guys, have a good weekend, bye.